About 30 seconds before we started this show, my wife said to me as I walked through that door, "Be gracious in victory." No, this is a View from the Bridge, official podcast of the Belfast Giants for kingdomofthegiants.com. Today is Tuesday, the 8th of November, 2022. My name is Patrick Smith. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. You can download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM. Talk to your Alexa device, and they'll ask for a View from the Bridge podcast, and they will oblige and get on all your normal podcast providers. On this week's show, 4 points, 13 goals for the Giants, and more than half of those goals were scored in a single period. We'll get to those games shortly, believe me. And we have guests galore on this show. Steve Owre meets the fan agenda. The Manchester Storm head coach, Matt Ginn, will preview Friday night for us. Adam Keefe will join us to look toward a long road swing ahead for his side. And we'll congratulate the player of the month for October before looking ahead to those two games next week against Manchester and Nottingham. Mr. McGimsey, how are you doing?
Not too bad, Patrick. I'm trying to catch Joel up with my Movember here, but
you're looking good. Actually,
he's looked like he's had a bit of a head start there, so might not.
There's a lot of hair there.
By the end of the month. Okay,
Joey, how are you doing?
Yeah,
stuck in traffic today, mate. Bad in Belfast.
If for anyone else watching tonight who was trying to get out of Belfast this evening, you have my sympathies. That was not fun. It's the worst I remember in a while. Davey, as I said to a lot of people, actually, you don't have my problem, mate. You don't need to hide like 7 chins, so you're absolutely fine. I need that head start. This is like a curtain to hide all my sins, you
know. Dear, I tried to grow a beard once. It was not a good look. So
I would love to see that.
Oh, no, never again. Right, boys, let's get stuck into the weekend's games. The Belfast Giants took 4 points from 2 games, one at home, one away, and one very much at home. Let's start with that away game that took place against the Glasgow Clan. Let me get the stats up. It was a 4-1 win for your Belfast Giants. Matt Ginn scored the first goal in the game in the first period, before 4 unanswered goals by your Belfast Giants, 3 of them in the second period. Conway, Lake and Derek Angeli with a goal. And in the fourth period, Scott Conway scored his second of the game on the power play. Goalkeepers, Peyton Jones in nets for your Belfast Giants, 18 shots against, 1 goal against. And the other side, John Muse, 29 shots against, 4 goals against. Pavel Hallis, Tommy Craig were our referees for this game. Davey, Clan took the lead in the first, but a strong defensive play by the Giants let the forwards do their thing.
I thought that we deserved certainly the win, and probably by the margin of victory, if not more. I guess it was a pretty even first period. I don't know if you are probably going to show the goals, but the first period, the first goal that the Clan come up with just off a broken play. Goody goes right behind the net and feeds it to Sam Roop, who has a one-timer, stick snaps, puck goes straight to the Clan player, who goes up ice, squares it to Wah, while Sam's away trying to get another stick, and it's 1-0. And trying to, a bit like a hangover from the previous Clan game, just breaking John Muse, just getting that one past him, and not even breaking a spurt, but just letting them know that there's goal. And then you get the bit of puck luck that you talk about there. You know, Scott Conway with a shot from the blue line hits Ben Lake on the helmet and goes in, and it's obviously, and we go on from there. The nice one, Angeli goes across the blue line, gets to the top of circles, and there's traffic just going across Muse, and he shoots back across him, which allows us to get that third. And then the 5-on-3. Teams have an unfortunate habit, I guess, sometimes when they take a penalty and they're under pressure in the defensive zone and they try to clear it and it goes over the glass. It's that horrible penalty where you get a delay game, and it puts us on the 5-on-3. Really nice, moved it nicely around the outside, came up with a couple of opportunities before we got the one-timer from Scott Conway to make it 4-1. And to be honest, that scoreline did not flatter us at all.
No, I don't think so. I totally agree with that, Joel.
Yeah, I think what Davey said about that first goal, it's one of those plays, you know, going 1-0 down on the road to Glasgow as a standalone sentence maybe sounds not great. But, you know, Rupper goes for a big shot, snaps the stick, Mitch Jones breaks up ice, and Matthew Wag gets himself into a good position at the edge of the crease. But after that, really, I think the thing that won this game for us, for me anyway, as the less than expert, I think our interplay in tight spaces was fantastic throughout the game. I think that we moved and passed really well, particularly in the zone. And even I think that third goal by Derek Angeli came from really good movement in the zone before he flicked it from the circle. And it was also nice to see Peyton Jones get his redemption in the third. Why gets that breakaway again, and Jones kind of turns him away. But after that early scare, which was a hockey incident, I think we were good for the win.
I think one thing needs to be pointed out more than others is the defensive play. I was quite impressed that on the road, David, that we limit them to 18 shots in their own barn.
Yeah, and I think do I have it written down somewhere? I think we like maybe 45 shots or something on goal. It was another one of those performances, but yeah, limited. And then when you take that even further, Paddy, into grade A chances, I think it was limited 15-3 or something in terms of like real grade A goal scoring opportunities. So we have played well. We talked about it on last week's podcast. Was it last week, Mark Garside or so? Yeah.
Yes, it was.
We talked about it in last week's podcast, how strong we've been defensively and that allows forwards to go and do their job. And, we've said over many, many years, defense wins championships. Forwards decide by how much you win games, but good defense wins championships. And we've got good team defense and, defense. And
nice.
All American there. But yeah, we've got good defense and good goaltending from both guys at the minute, and strong defense from all five guys out on the ice, which is really, I like the buy-in from. I've talked about Owre, Butcher, McCauley, etc. So they're all playing well defensively, and one night they're going to get the light up the scoreboard, and then I'm sure we'll talk about that.
We'll come to that. One of the things, just from your defense comment, just reminds me of back in the early days. It's one of the lads. I can't even remember his name. He doesn't go anymore, but he went there and he refused to refer to defensemen. He always called them defenders. Defenders. Just steeped in football. You know what I mean? He says, "We've got two great defenders at the back there." So, well, it's not. Anyway,
no, pull up a sandbag, Paddy. I'm in. Let's go.
That's what I'm here for. No, but Joel, we've been into we've had a few battles against the Clan, and they've come strong. But on Friday, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Friday. On Friday, that wasn't the case. I think Dixon's team just weren't really performing.
Yeah, look, and you have to give the Clan credit. It's been short-lived, possibly, but there's a reason that sort of changing coach upswing is a bit of a sporting trope or a cliche. A bit of a breath of fresh air, or getting rid of a coach that maybe it just wasn't working with. I thought anyway, early in the season, you could tell just by the players' body language that they did not enjoy playing under Malcolm Cameron, and there was a bit of an upswing in terms of their effort. They're putting more goals on the board. They got their win. But look, you just can't put that against the kind of quality that the Belfast Giants can bring on any given night. And as we've talked about in recent weeks, we've been maybe a little bit snake bitten in front of goal, but we're starting to light up now, and we're starting to climb up that table, and we still have games in hand. So to me, it's just a team that's going to be competing for championships at the end of the season, coming up against a team who experienced a bit of an uplift because they got rid of their coach, but they're still way down there. They're going to be in trouble this year.
The highlights from this game you can get on YouTube from our friends at Clan TV. And welcome back to Craig Anderson on commentary. So we move on to the other game that took place, which was against, let me think. Oh, yes.
Cardiff Devils, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate. The Cardiff Devils. Yes. A 9-3 victory. From one former Cardiff Devil coaching to another former Cardiff Devil coaching, and neither getting a victory against the Belfast Giants. The Belfast Giants took a 9-3 victory over the Cardiff Devils at the SSE Arena in front of 5,398 fans. Steve Owre opened the scoring for the Giants. He'll be our guest later in the show. Before Ryan Penny leveled things to make it 1-1. And away we go. Derek Angeli, Owre again, Goody, Owre again, Conway, Gilbert, Long, Owre again, makes it 9-1 before Sanford and Brody in the third make it 9-3. With regards to your goalkeepers, well, for the Belfast Giants, Jackson Whistle with 33 shots against and 3 goals against. And at the other side, Ben Bounds only lasted 25 minutes, 16 shots against, 4 goals against. And before Taron Cozen came in, 35 minutes, 19 shots against, 5 goals against. Not much better, to be honest with you. Tom Perring and Oliver Truswell were your referees. Well, I would normally at this point switch to you, Joel, and start with you, but I'm actually going to switch. I'm going to start.
We go no further here until we address the
Davey,
elephant in the room.
I'm just going to remind everybody of Davey's words last week.
So I think that's the important bit. Somebody's going to get gubbed soon. Somebody's going to absolutely get the slipper here one of these weeks, because all these guys that just aren't scoring they're going to have to. Their CVs tell you that they are going to score goals. So they haven't become bad players or anything. They're just not. We're getting opportunities. Like, see.
That team, Davey, who got the slipper were the Cardiff Devils.
Well, it wasn't exactly Nostradamus-like to come up with that prediction. That's one for the students there, Joel. People Google Nostradamus. Great book. Pretty much made up, but that's a good story. Like, we had been playing well. We're playing strong defensively, creating tons and tons of opportunity. Absolutely loved it when I seen the post-match interview with Joel when the coach talked about statistics. Got a bit of but and it's true.
Got a bit of what, sorry?
Statistically, we were gonna gub somebody, and it happened to be a night when their goalies didn't really turn up, and we absolutely came hard out of the traps. That first goal, especially, Steve Owre actually leans into the D-man. Kieran Long gives him a wee poke as well, and it's just a hopeful, oh no, I'm going behind the red line here, I'll just dump it back in, and anything can happen. And like, Bouncy will not be happy with that. That'll be like one that he'll just be turning his hair out. Like, he needed pulled at the end of the day, that everything that was going at him was going in, and he got the first use of the hot water, and Cozen didn't do much better. That second period, as good as like, does it get better as a Belfast Giants fan than that 7-goal period against Cardiff at home? We've had one before. I was talking to Sis the other night there. He was saying on comedy didn't think we'd ever had a 7-goal unanswered period, but again, against the Cardiff Devils a few years back under Paul Eadie, we also scored 7 in the second period without reply. So strong performances all over the ice, and good to see a lot of guys getting into the goals after we talked about it last week. Scott Conway, again, he loves it. Doesn't matter whether it's a 1-0 tight game or a 10-0 blowout. Scott Conway wants to get goals and points, and he came up with the goods again. And I just thought we were really, really strong all over the ice, and we looked like we're playing for fun. And that is, look, it's their job. It's a serious business. There's people there that are paying a lot of money to come in and be entertained, but my goodness, they look like they're having a lot of fun. And for me, that's the most important thing about any sport. It's that you go out there and you play for fun.
20 goals in all competitions for Scott Conway, and we are on the 8th of November. Is that right, Davey?
Is there a new what's the elite prospect? It's the worst thing on the internet, the elite prospects prediction. Joel's going to give us it.
Is this the projected points?
Projected. It's nonsense.
Scott Conway. His current projection is 44 goals, 54 apples for 98 points on the season, which that's a modest enough return for Conway.
And like, if Scott Conway stays fit, I see no reason why he wouldn't put up. I think he had 98 points last year as well. Goals, assists. That projection's nonsense. Like, before the weekend, Steve Owre was projected for no goals and 16 assists, and now he's down for 20 and 15, I think it is. So Steve Owre could get 20 goals. I really, really hope he does. I hope Scott Conway stays fit and he'll score an absolute bagful. But, let's just take one game at a time, guys.
Steve Owre, like I said, is going to be our guest later in the show, Joel. And, for a man who, we were talking about players who were snake bitten and maybe not finding the back of the net, well, he sort of started with a plum now.
Delighted for him. Really, do you know what? Really nice kid. Maybe flies under the radar as one of the best characters in that locker room. A little softly spoken, maybe not as pronounced as some of the bigger characters that we've had, but Steve Owre is a great addition to this Belfast Giants team. You spent 5 minutes with him and you can feel it. He really needed that. You could tell he was delighted. He talked about it being his first 4-goal game. He'd never had that before. You could tell the coach and the boys were just buzzing for him. It was a night when he announced his arrival to the Elite League and showed what he could do. But not only Steve Owre, but the Giants' secondary scoring. We've talked at length over the past number of weeks with slim score lines about the secondary scoring beyond that top line needing to light themselves up. And Davey nailed it, and credit to Davey, tip of the cap to Davey. But I think it's been sort of the narrative for the past couple of weeks. I saw Will Cullen talking in the press about, look, we know it's going to come. We know this is going to happen. We're just working our system, and it's going to happen someday. I just didn't think it would be so spectacular against probably the rivalry, the current rivalry, main rivalry that the Belfast Giants have. It was lovely. The only other thing I really want to add, Paddy, there were a few eyebrows raised around the arena and in a few conversations I had after the game about Bounds getting hooked after 4 goals. And to be honest, my eyebrow was probably slightly up as well. But hindsight's a wonderful thing. And, you know, if you look at Tosin, if you look at what you've got an import goalie on the bench, someone who has played extensively in the WHL, where Jackson Whistle cut his teeth. He played 135 games. Not going to start doing Davy here, but he's got ECHL experience. He should be able to come in to replace and back up a goalie who's off his game that night. I just think that it was the night that we were all waiting for. We absolutely lit it up and deserved to as well. The Devils just did not show up.
Let me just open this. I want to start talking about the Devils.
Yeah, let's flip it on Paddy for a minute. I know that you've been dying to get stuck into this.
Well, I was shocked. Let's say it. I know. I put a tongue-in-cheek tweet out. You know, nobody's shocked. I actually was shocked, not at the Belfast Giants, and you know, as Davey said, you know, somebody's going to get gubbed sooner or later. I was shocked it was the Cardiff Devils for a number of reasons. One of them being, I thought defensively they were shocking. Completely shocking. I think, you know, you look at this first goal and you've got 2 D-men on there, a backhanded just little flap at goal, and it gets the back of the net. And that's Bounds' thing, you know, a bad mistake by Bounds, who isn't the player he was. I said there, it's out there. I think I'm not the first one to say it. I don't think he's the player he was, but you know, he's still, as you said, he's still a top level goalkeeper in this league. The other one I really enjoyed actually was the 8th goal, where it just seems to bounce off everybody, and like Cousin's diving back into his own net trying to get at it, and it's in the back of it. Anyway, but the other thing was, as I'll ask you in this, Davey, as well, I'll come to you, Joel, as the score started to run up in the second period, there was absolutely no bite from that team. There was no pushback from the Devils. There was no timeout. They changed the goalkeeper. It seemed they were getting swamped and they didn't know what to do, and there was no physicality at all.
I'm not that scared of the Cardiff Devils in terms of their physicality. Or 5-on-5, we've had this team's number, you know, bar a couple of games, bar a couple of periods here and there, and even the Challenge Cup final. Okay, they were in a wee bit short-bodied and it went overtime, but we like absolutely dominated the game. We've dominated a nice arena. Wales, the playoff final is one that we will look back on. I don't know whether guys look back on with regret now that the games are over and stuff, but like we just got a couple behind of a couple of mistakes, and then when you're chasing games against good teams, it becomes difficult. They're like an elite level team. I wasn't surprised to see us surprised with the speed at which they folded. You know, that second period fold, to concede 7 goals to anyone in a single period in this league.
No timeout.
Is bad darts, no timeout. As you say, the game has changed, but there wasn't really any major scrums, offers. You know, it was just like almost accept our fate here. We've got Cozen in that didn't, you know, that we've talked about games where Adam Keefe has perhaps pulled Peyton Jones for Jackson Whistle or vice versa, or goalies over the years. That makes the defense step up. That makes the defense tighten up around the goaltender. Boys, were at 2-1, 3-1. The Cardiff Devils went away from their process, is what I would say. They started going for that Hollywood pass. They started trying to stretch the rink. They started trying to hit those 2-line passes, and it just wasn't working. And what that gave us was opportunities to go in behind. Lily was watching this with me earlier on when I was cutting the goals, and Lily was saying things like, even this goal, how come there's 5 in white and only 2 in teal and they still scored? Things like that, like an 8-9-year-old. Because, you know, the defensive coverage isn't good enough from the Cardiff Devils in this place. They weren't physical enough. And if we were doing this the other way around and Cardiff were scoring on us like this, there would be a moratorium going on for weeks. There'd be devastation. There are problems within that team, gladly. Cozen last season, 928 or something, save percentage in backing up Matt Carruth, who was one of the best goaltenders in the league. Cozen has came back for a reason, and it's to give Ben Bounds nights off, because you've said he's not the goalie he was, but he's no younger than he ever was. None of us are, so he needs some relief some nights. And, you know, for him to ship those goals and Cozen to come in and not shut the game down surprised me a lot. Cardiff still running, it was like a track meet at times, and they're not going. That's the goal you were talking about earlier there, Paddy.
Yeah.
I just think from a perspective, they maybe could have shut up shop a wee bit and said, look, Dammy's limitation here, because there comes a time in a hockey game against a very good team like the Belfast Giants, you're out of it. You're not coming back. We're 4-5 up. You're not beating us 6-5 here. So, you take your medicine, you maybe just shut it up a wee bit, but they decided to, try and go run and gun with us, and it didn't work out well for them. And even like the third period, let's be honest here, we took the last period off, more or less.
Very much so.
And I don't mean that disparaging. And I know that Rayner talked on commentary about, we like to put together a 60-minute game. Pretty difficult when you're 9-1, 9-2 at the end of the second period. 9-1. Well, 9-1.
9-1 at the end. They scored 2 goals in the third.
Very, very difficult to come out there. And the thing about momentum, as we all know, is once it's gone, it's very, very difficult to pick it back, even from a massive winning position. At 9-1, it was just like, we could have went on maybe and tried to embarrass them a wee bit, and I'd have been okay with that too. But that's a really lovely goal for me. I love that strong side, weak side play where you bring all the play. Go back this way. All the play to one side of the ice, and you bring all 5 players, and someone swings off the bench on a late line change, dumps it into that blue paint, and Angeli, I think it is, with the stick, like a telegraph pole, that stick, and he's got it in there to deflect. I love those kind of goals. We've conceded a few of them this season, which you hate to see, but whenever it comes off in a positive manner, it's a tactic. It's used a lot around this league. Love it.
Coming back to the coaching side of it, Joel, I spoke to a friend of the show. Let's say I spoke to a friend of the show on the phone earlier on. A guy we invited on this week, but unfortunately he wasn't available. But a friend of the show, and he was talking about this game, and he was talking about how much the Giants scored in that second period. And when I suggested that there was no timeout called by DuPont, he was actually quite shocked at the fact that there was no. They did change the goalie, but they didn't call a timeout. And I think could you put that down to just being a rookie error coaching wise?
Brody DuPont's no dozer though. He's had a long he's had a long career at a high level. He's played throughout Europe. He's played in the A and the ECHL in North America. Do you know what, Paddy? I'm kind of stumped. I don't know, because I know that Adam Keefe would have called a timeout and we would have settled ourselves down and gone again. I can't really place my finger on where this went wrong. Maybe it was just one of those nights when everything goes wrong, the team's spiraling, you don't know how to get back, and the game plan's out the window. The game's already gone. I genuinely don't know. I thought what you actually mentioned earlier, about the game being changed. I know we keep coming back to this. We're sounding like grumpy old men, but one of the things I kind of scribbled down tonight to actually ask Adam Keefe was, that second period, a 7-goal blowout. Adam Keefe has someone who was a very physical player. There's no way he wouldn't have started something there or got something going to try and spark the boys. But that has to come from the coach as well. The coach has to set the tempo. The coach has to show that there's still passion, that there's still something to fight for. It just seemed like no one was interested.
Ah, well.
You had to see it.
The highlights from this game are available, of course, from our good friends at Belfast Giants TV, and I hope Siz's voice gets better soon. He had a bit rough on the old throat. I know he wasn't feeling the best, but get well soon, Siz. Hope you've got a good. Unfortunately, you've got a solid month off here because the Belfast Giants go on the road for more or less a month. But you can get the highlights of this game, as enjoyable as they are, on Belfast Giants TV. Right, let's move to the fan agenda, and we're going to be joined by a man who we've just spoken about, with 4 goals in that game against the Cardiff Devils, one of which where he drags it back and snaps it in the back of the net. One of the lovely, finest goals I've seen in years. Please welcome to the pod, Steve Owre. How you doing, mate?
What a guy.
Hey guys, how are you?
Not too bad, buddy. Right, let's go straight back to that game. Let's go straight back to the game against the Cardiff Devils on Sunday afternoon. Your reflection on the game. Obviously, 4 goals. You said to Joel after the game on interview, you don't think you've scored 4 goals in a game before, but a remarkable night for you, a remarkable night for the team.
Sorry, guys, I'm having a little bit of Wi-Fi trouble here. I don't think I've ever scored 4 goals before, so that was something new. But I was just lucky. I was happy to get 1. That's all I cared about. But they just kept coming at that point. So
when the momentum is that high in the game, is it easy just to get carried away with it?
Yeah, I mean, it a special night. It doesn't happen very often where everything touches your stick and ends up in a scoring chance. So you know, it was just kind of one of those things where try and ride the momentum, and yeah, it worked out pretty well for me. So.
We talked to Gary last week, Steve, about the team playing really defensively well. I was speaking earlier on about like yourself, Booch, Soisy, Macaulay playing a really good defensive game, and the 5-6 guys in the ice playing really pretty well defensively. And we were going to have a breakout game. The secondary scoring was going to have to come sooner or later. It just happened to come on Sunday really well.
Yeah, definitely. I like you said, those guys were, you know, we've shown in the past, and we know what kind of players we are. We can put the puck in the net. It just, you know, it wasn't happening at that time. And, you know, and so you just got to kind of buckle down and make sure you take care of the defensive end first, and good things will happen from there.
And a little nuance that happens in Belfast, just with us having the arena there, that this time of year we end up going on the road most seasons. Well, it's been probably for the last 6, 7, 8 years, probably we'll go on this quite a long road swing through November into December time. Is that something that, you know, you've experienced? So if you're looking forward to it, the boys are going to be able to get together a wee bit more?
Yeah, you know, road trips are always good team builders. I've found in the past. So it's going to be a challenging month for us. Obviously, you know, going on the road and playing like that on the road for 6 games in a row. I think it's a challenge, but you know, we're looking forward to it. I think, like you said, it's a good time to bond as a team, and hopefully we can string some wins together.
Steve, it's good to chat to you again. It's one of the things that fascinates me most about pro athletes, and it's the thing that sets, well, one of the many things that sets you apart from me, is the psychology. It's how you deal with the game mentally. One of the many things, Patrick. We were talking about the chins earlier. You're obviously you're through kind of 10 games in the league, and however many cup games total, without that goal yet. And listen, you know how to score goals. You know your stats are there. How is it mentally? Does it take its toll on you whenever you're like, I'm doing everything that I need to do here. I'm doing all the things right. I'm doing everything that's got me success before. What does it feel like when you're grinding away, but that first one just won't come?
Yeah, it's frustrating. You know, the first few games of the year, it was, you know, it was tough. I felt like I was playing really well and, you know, doing the right things, but it just wasn't falling for me. So it is tough mentally to try and stay positive, and you know, maybe had a few really good chances that normally those go in, but they're not. So my dad was a big help there. I talked to him quite a bit after every game, and he just said, you know, you're playing really well. You just got to keep grinding away. So you know, he kind of helped me out during that time. But yeah, no, it's tough, but you just got to keep pushing through it and staying positive, because you know what you can do.
And then on the flip side to that, right, like you finally get to, you know, a 4-goal game in front of a big hot crowd against probably the team's hottest rival at the moment. Is there a buzz bigger in the world? Is there anything you can compare it to that I would understand to what it feels like to hit 4 in front of that home crowd and hear everybody go nuts for you?
Oh, it was a special night for sure. I mean, not just me. I mean, it was 9 goals we scored. The crowd was going crazy. So it was a fun night to be a part of. You know, especially when Cardiff's in town, they've got you know, it's a big rivalry, and crowd was electric. So we had a lot of fun playing in front of it, and I certainly picked a good night to break out a little bit.
Going to go to Twitter, Steve. A couple of questions are coming in from people watching in. We've lost Steve.
No,
he's still there.
No, he's still there. He's muted. I'm seeing
You're
him.
on mute, Steve. On mute. Oh, I can mute you. I'll try that. There we go.
You're watching A View from the Bridge.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Yeah, cool. Buddy, let's go.
One of the questions coming in from Ryan on Twitter said that you've been a prominent member of the penalty kill so far this season, even scoring a shorty on Sunday. Is penalty killing an area of your game you enjoy and pride yourself on? And has George Awada been a big influence on this?
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I've played different roles on different teams in the past where, you know, maybe I wasn't on the penalty kill as much, but it's certainly something that like to take pride in. It's not easy to do, and it's one of those things where it can swing momentum in a game. So I certainly take pride in being a good penalty killer. And Wads has been great. He's he's always positive feedback behind the bench when you come off, even if you're maybe a little frustrated after a shift. And definitely.
George is one of the great penalty killers for the Belfast Giants.
Probably George Awada is probably, I know nostalgia can have a tilt on it, but George Awada probably the strongest penalty killer possibly this league's ever seen, let alone Belfast ever seen. A great forward, scored so many goals for this club, but his niche was penalty killing, and fantastic. But before you let you go, Steve, I want to ask you, so we've played a lot against the Scottish teams this season. We're starting to get on this road trip now. We're going to go to Nottingham. We're going to go to Sheffield. We're going to go into some of the bigger rings, but we're also going to go into some of the smaller rings. I have to be careful what I say here because there's a guest in the green room I can see here. I don't want to say anything too much, but we were down in Guildford the other Saturday, and we obviously had we'd spoken before the game about the first line change and stuff, and it's a smaller rink and it's different bench, it's different setup, and when you go to Manchester, it's going to be a little bit more of a culture shock again, even in Guildford. And these things that are the guys that have been here, are we talking about it already, about what they expect when going to these different rinks?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the unique things about this league is it's every road game there's a little bit different of a challenge. So we've certainly talked about the size of the ice surface there, and there's things we can do to adjust our game plan to have some success there, hopefully.
Yeah, like these teams, don't need me to tell you this, these teams are built for their home rinks. Manchester are always big. Everything happens very, very quick in Manchester. When they come, they're a completely different team when they come to Belfast because they've got to play on the 200-foot ice. And, things will happen in Manchester 5 times the speed, and the guys just got to be ready to go with that.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, smaller ice surface, things are going to happen faster. With the big team over there, so you got to be a little bit more on your toes and just be ready to think the game that much quicker. So I'm looking forward to getting out there.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Steve, we're going to let you go. Thanks very much for joining us. Congratulations on a fantastic weekend. Hopefully more to come and a long road swing ahead before you get back to the SSE arena, but we wish you well.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Paul.
Cheers, Steve. Thank you.
Cheers.
A little over 2 weeks until the Friendship 4 in Belfast, and we'll have more on that next week. We're hoping to have a few of the coaches or a few of the captains on A View from the Bridge as we build up to what is always a fantastic NCAA tournament at the SSE arena. Big thanks to Steve Owre for joining us there. Fantastic to have him on. We're going to crack on, gents, because we've got an absolutely packed show. This Friday was one of my favorite events because it's only just down the road from in Altrincham, as the Belfast Giants come over to Manchester to face the Manchester Storm. And joining us now is a man, well, more often than not, would always frustrate us when I went to games when I go to the games in Altrincham between the pipes, and he's hoping to frustrate us again this weekend as the Giants return there. But this time as a head coach, please welcome to A View from the Bridge, Matt Ginn. How are you doing?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
No, good. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm going to start with that game against Sheffield the other weekend. And now, obviously, it's caught a few of the headlines because it's, let's say, a little bit old school. Obviously, you had the hit from Davy Phillips and a bit of retribution for that. It's obviously something that riled up your locker room. Is that the sort of a game you were expecting from your team?
Yes and no. Like I knew kind of from the hit the game before, we weren't thrilled with kind of the non-reaction. I don't know if a lot of guys saw it at the time and then kind of see the replay after, and it was a bad hit on our leading scorer too. So I think it was definitely in the guy's mind. And then to be honest, I wasn't sure what how things were going to occur there, and it kind of set off right away, and then kind of the intensity kept up throughout the game.
Is that something as a coach you can feel in the room before they go out, and I guess you just let it happen?
Yes and no. I was more worried about winning the game, to be honest with you. But guys were focused. They were ready to go. There was a big crowd, and I wasn't, I guess, fully surprised that something like that happened.
Matt, I want to take you slightly away from the current situation. How have you transitioned away from playing into coaching? It's obviously probably great that you've been able to stay involved in the game, but like, how hard mentally was it just to take that injury and know that you weren't going to be able to continue just in between the pipes?
Yeah, it was disappointing. Obviously, at first, I think there was probably a week of moping around and kind of like being down and stuff. But I was lucky enough. Finner took me kind of under his wing right away. So I was lucky enough to kind of learn from him as in the assistant coach role there last season. It was always something I kind of wanted to get into, as coaching. I think my career probably ended a little earlier and abruptly than kind of I anticipated, but I know kind of the opportunity that arose in front of me is not something that a lot of people get the chance to do. So I'm not taking that lightly, and I'm working hard at it. And I mean, coaching, I think something you're always learning something, whether you've been coaching for years or your first go around. So I don't pretend to know I know everything. I think communication is so important nowadays, but like at all times, really. But yeah, I'm loving it.
Coach, if I could actually expand on that, it's something that really interests me, especially in our league, and having been one of the best tendies in the league over the past number of seasons, you'll be aware of it. We obviously don't have the luxury here of goalie coaches, and it's something that even in the minors in North America, it's something that you would have. Being a goalie that then has transitioned into head coaching, coaching everyone, how aware of that are you? Are you aware of trying to give your tendies some kind of extra love?
I try and stay out of it a little bit. If I see something that pops up, I'll chime in or whatever. But it's more of a two-way street. It's not me preaching or anything like that. It's just, I think it's good for them to have someone to kind of bounce things off where you kind of understand where they're coming from. I think it's tough for coaches that never played the position to, when you're someone brings a goalie question to you, you're kind of out at sea a little bit. It's kind of the one position where you're by yourself. But no, I think I've got a good relationship with the goalies we've got here, and I'm hoping to be kind of a sounding board for them.
If I could just follow up, Paddy, one real quick one. I love guys who played in the NCAA or U Sports. I love getting their kind of thoughts on that. You saw just before we brought you in there, we're a couple of weeks out from the Friendship Four coming back to Belfast. It's a big weekend. You played your college hockey in the College of the Holy Cross with the Crusaders, NCAA D1 team. What was it like for you going the college route? Was that a special experience playing college hockey and having that kind of experience while you got your qualifications?
Yeah, I loved it. It was it's tough to say. It's probably four of the best years of my life there, really, because it's a little different than I think I was expecting. Really, like school in the States, I found was just a little bit more. I don't know the right word, but it's really tight knit community. Even the alumni group and stuff, the support. Like I still stay in touch with people I played with, against people like that, just classmates, other graduates and alumni, and it was a smaller school too, so you knew everybody. And I just had a blast there.
Paddy?
Tell us a little bit of about your thing about your recruitment. Obviously, you had to bring in a brand new netty in Levine, but you've brought back the likes of Dallas Earhart and guys, Zach Sullivan, guys who have been within that sort of setup at the Storm. Is that important to have that sort of backbone of people like like Tyson Fawcett, who have experience of playing in that rink?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously last year was disappointing. We didn't have a good year. There's no real way to sugarcoat that. So we knew we needed some changes. But with that being said, I think we had a good core group of guys. And I think it's important to kind of bring those guys back every year. I know you guys do something similar there where you kind of have the same core that return. So we wanted to bring in obviously a lot of new faces and some fresh blood, but also kind of keep like the Critchlows and the Fosses and the Earharts, the guys who have been around and guys who that pour their heart and soul into the team, to be honest with you, and kind of establish our culture and help hopefully get us back on the right track here.
I was in the building when you played the Sheffield Steelers and Anthony DeLuca made his debut, and obviously he scored a few against them, had a big smile on his face. The sort of experience and ability that he brings to the Storm will be priceless.
Yeah, I know kind of too well, actually. He's got a great shot, a knack around the net there, and he always goes on about how much he scored in Manchester. I don't remember it that way. He's a goal scorer. He's an electric player up front there. He can make plays happen. And I think a guy who knows the rink and has had success there definitely helps.
And you heard Davey just saying earlier on about rinks and about the ability. You obviously, we know this to our detriment on many occasions. You have a rink that's pretty unique in regards to its size, and a lot of teams come in there and struggle. How much is the rink an extra man to your guys?
Yeah, it is. I think to an extent, like if we don't go out and execute it, it doesn't really matter here. But for us, yeah, it's just kind of like all the teams that come in, we have to play a simple game there. It's pucks, bodies to the net. Things happen quickly. I think, yeah, so we can use it as an advantage. But like I said, we have to be on top of our game and kind of play the way that we have to.
Matt, there was a few questions came in on the Facebook and the Twitter and stuff when people were told you were coming on here. And I have a question here from a guy called Michael Holden. Said, how do you see the steady improvement of you? Sorry, I've got somebody else's teeth in here. Matt, as a coach, do you see a steady improvement in the standard of hockey played in the UK? And do you think there's any ways to accelerate it that are closer to the better European leagues?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great league. I think it's probably a little underrated, to be honest with you, especially guys who come from North America, and they're a little bit surprised at the quality of the league. And you see it even like you guys when you played in the Champions League against those top teams, like held your own, won some games. Like I think that does a lot for the league as well. And to the second part of the question there, to kind of improve things, I think you're starting to see it now. Like Manchester has that Manchester Academy, the Storm Academy, which is huge. I've been kind of bringing up the kids at a young age with some coaches who are really knowledgeable, guys who have, a couple of them have came from North America, like across Europe there. So I think just overall the hockey's improving, and then also people are becoming more knowledgeable and like developing kids at a younger age. You're seeing kind of the next wave of young British players come up, and the skills there. It's just kind of getting their foot in the door, and kind of how it is everywhere else.
Joel, how enjoyable is it to be a part of that development of kids, young girls? Great to see girls involved in the game as well, and just to bring, when we're younger and we're involved in sports, as we've all been involved in sports at very different levels, obviously, but it doesn't matter, even though the levels you play at, you want to see young guys. As you get older, you want to see young kids getting involved, and it's great to see young kids and girls. How much of enjoyment is that in part of your role?
Yeah, no, it's huge. Like I said, especially working with the academy here, like it's great to see all the interest in hockey and all the Storm fans around the rink and all the kids that are involved in it. It's one thing, like we love all the fans and whatnot, but you need kind of that next wave of kids coming up that love the game. And I know looking back when I was a kid years and years ago, like how much I love the game and being at the rink and getting to be around some of the older players and stuff. I think it's huge.
Coach, another one that fascinates me, obviously the playing side, you didn't get to end it on your terms, through injury, but you also now have the benefit of being into coaching at still a pretty young age. And I'm certainly not trying to spook any Storm fans that may be watching tonight, but how far would you like to take coaching? You're in Ontario, guys, isn't that right?
Yep,
you play college hockey in Mass, I think. You've seen various different levels. Do you have ambitions for how far you want to take your career behind the bench?
Yeah, I think eventually at some point. Right now, I'm just kind of focused on. There's enough on my plate now to worry about. But no, I don't like to think too far ahead. To be honest with you here, I love it, and like I said, I know the opportunity I have in front of me here is something unique, and that's kind of all I'm focused on right now is the Storm. And like I said, last year was disappointing, and I got a a taste of that, both in the net a little bit and then mostly kind of on the sidelines and behind the bench. So it was an area of focus just for us to improve. So that's just kind of where I'm focused on right now.
We're going to let you go just a second, Matt, but obviously we just want to look ahead to the weekend that we have. Obviously, it's an easy weekend for the Manchester Storm. It's Belfast and Cardiff. But the game against Belfast, their first visit to Altrincham this season. What sort of thing are you expecting from the game?
Well, I'm hoping you guys used up all your goals there last week. No, you know, I have a lot of respect for Belfast, the organization, the team. The job Keefe does, I think he's an outstanding coach. And since I've got to the UK, actually, my first year, like, you guys are just kind of a well-oiled machine, to be honest with you. Just a heavy game, and that's kind of how I've told the guys. Like they've played against some of the players and stuff, but just if we don't match that intensity and the effort, kind of compete level, I've told them like there's no chance. So like it's an easy game for us to get up for, I think. Back at home too, where we play well. But yeah, I think you always want to kind of see how you measure up to against the top teams. And I think right now kind of Belfast looks like they're the kind of top of the league. So definitely a big game for us Friday here. We haven't played a league game either for a week or so. So good to kind of get back on track here and hopefully get something out of the weekend.
I can tell you from experience, I've walked out of that rink annoyed more than I've walked out of it happy, I think, in the last number of years. So I don't think the Belfast Giants will be going in there with any sort of complacency. Matt, listen, we really appreciate you joining us and spending time and chatting. And we wish you well against Cardiff.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Well, hopefully we'll speak to you again as the season goes on. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, you bet. Talk to you later.
Bye. Cheers.
Big thanks to Matt Ginn for joining us on A View from the Bridge. That game is on Friday at 7:30 at the at Planet Ice in Altrincham. And if you're not making the trip over here to Manchester to watch it, then you can get it, of course, on Storm TV. We'll be joined by John O'Bullard, who's doing both games for the Belfast Giants this weekend. Both the game against the Storm and the game against the Panthers, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
So was that first trip in there as well? It's probably always the first trip into a lot of these rinks for guys that haven't played there before. It's a eye-opening situation to a few of them at times, you know, and we know that from our first visit to a few of these rinks over the last number of years, you know, there's something not an easy place. It's not easy, but there's no easy 2 points anywhere in this league anymore. So, you know, that's just got to be first shift ready to go.
Absolutely. Right, from that head coach to our very own, after a fantastic 4-point weekend where the Belfast Giants scored 13 goals, I'm delighted to welcome back to A View from the Bridge our own head coach, Adam Keefe. How are you doing, Coach?
Hi, Coach.
Hey, guys.
So let's go back to the weekend. Your thoughts?
I thought it was a pretty solid weekend, starting off with the Friday. You know, obviously, the weekend prior there, we'd gotten by Glasgow with a 1-0 win, but I felt good about our game. Just took us a while to get that first one and close out that game. And then going to Glasgow, obviously you have to be aware that, you know, at home, it might be a little bit better, a little bit more energized after a week off. So, you know, we wanted to warn our guys that it's gonna take another full 60 minutes to get it done. And I thought I liked our full 60 there in Glasgow as well. So it was nice to get the day off there in between to really recover and get ready for a big challenge in Cardiff.
And was that challenge big in the end?
Well, I mean, the game started off quite even back and forth. I liked our game. I wasn't concerned about our game. Get that first goal, and then they get the power play goal, and then you're starting to wonder which way the game could go. You know, so many times before where we felt we've been in control of a game, and then a power play can change the game instantly. So I did like our response right after that, and we got a big power play goal of our own as well, and a big shorthanded goal. And then I think from there, you know, they started to fall apart a little bit, and then it was hard to recover from that.
We were talking earlier actually about that, Coach, whenever we were kind of analysing the game, and obviously just a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not asking you to be critical of another coach in any respect, that a couple of weeks ago, whenever Cardiff got back into the game against us in Ice Arena, Wales, you were quite quick to call your timeout, and you spoke about it and you said, you know, you wouldn't want to have it in your hand at the end of the game and not use it. Is there an argument to be made there, even when pulling the goalie? The coach perhaps could have taken a little bit of the emotion out of his players, calmed them down just by taking that time out.
Well, I mean, it's hard to know. I mean, there's many games that went by, and I never used a timeout. When I look back on it in hindsight, I probably should have. So I have no idea if Brody would have changed that in the moment. But I think, pulling the goalie at that time, I think was the fourth goal that Bouncy got pulled. I think that was probably used as a timeout. It was a break and play there, kind of limits the momentum. And basically that was used as the timeout right there. So that's the way I see it. There's plenty of times as a coach that certainly that I've been in a game where the emotions run high and you didn't use it, or you didn't feel you needed it, or you feel you needed to wait for a certain point in the game and it never really came. So sometimes it works out where you get the call right, sometimes you don't get it right, and that's part of being a coach and being we're all human as well.
Let's get away from Sunday ever so slightly. We're 7, 8, 9 weeks into the season now, where the CHL's behind us. It was a great experience for a lot of boys. You must be fairly happy with how we've played to date. I'm sure there's things you'd like back and tweaks you'd make, but overall, fairly content with where we're sitting.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I mean, it's been obviously a different year with the Champions League and the way that we've started the season off. I think we'll kind of have something to draw back on. The last time we were in the Champions League and how we came out of that, we knew that the Challenge Cup was going to be just a little bit of an energy drain coming from off the Champions League to Challenge Cup. It's a little different in terms of the excitement level. So I was happy to get out of those games with the effort, or maybe not the effort, but the results that we got. I thought recently, I think that some things have started to click for us structurally, and I think that if we do find another level of scoring, that we're going to be in control a lot more of games. And I think that we certainly saw that on Friday and on Sunday, certainly. But I like the way that the guys are competing. I like the way that they've bought in so far, and I'm just really happy for them right now. I mean, you're asking players to work real hard and to stay focused for 8 months, night in, night out. It's not that easy. I mean, I played the game. I understand that sometimes you're not feeling great, or for whatever reason, things aren't working for you. So, to really squeeze the best out of everybody, it's difficult. And so I'm happy for the guys when it does work out. And I think we're on the right path here. But we do need to stay consistent and stay humble here, because it's a long year and we haven't done anything yet.
Coach, I guess it's not a question specifically about the Devils game, but if I can pull it back to something based off that, we've been having a lot of conversations in recent weeks on the show just about the changing face of the game, and someone like yourself who played the role that you did both in North America and here in the EI, a 7-goal blowout period like that, we haven't seen anything like that in quite a while. There was a time not too long ago when you probably would have seen a spark. You would have seen somebody make something happen, drop the gloves, whatever. Do you think the game's changing whenever you see a game like that and you put 7 goals on the board without any kind of friction from the other side?
He'd have done it.
He would have done it. Tell me you wouldn't have.
I'll stay quiet on that one. You guys know what my response would have been, but each team is different. I'd be lying if I didn't think that I thought the game would get a little chippier there in the second period, and just kind of warning our guys to make sure that we're running some interference and slowing the other team down and not taking any unnecessary punishment. At the same time, I'm very confident in our group's team toughness and being able to handle themselves and protect themselves, and ultimately, we're focused on something bigger here, and that's winning the game. and getting out of that game unscathed and ready for the next one. And that's what our complete focus is on. But if the game does turn chippy and we need to protect ourselves and handle it, I'm confident we can do that as well.
The other thing that interests me about a game like that, you hear a lot of guys that have had longer careers talk about the code, and it is an unwritten list of rules. It's an interesting one on Sunday because we have been maybe a little bit snake bitten in terms of secondary scoring in recent weeks. We've still been getting the job done. There's been nothing wrong with 4-point weekends, but the majority of those goals have been coming from the top line. So you get into a game like that where you're starting to fire on all cylinders and you've got goals coming from everywhere. You've got Steve Owre putting 4 on the board. At what point do you consider, let's take the foot off a little here? Was it that third period? Was it kind of, let's not embarrass them? Or was it job done, boys? Let's take the rest of the night off?
I was more focused, to be honest with you, in the third period. I was more focused on us not giving anything up. So a little disappointment there. But those games are very difficult to stay switched on for a full 60 minutes. And unfortunately, it does usually fall back on the goaltender. And, that's part of the bit that I was kind of a little frustrated with, just that we put Jackson under unnecessary fire in that period. But, like I said, it's very difficult to play under those circumstances. And, we're still a team that's learning how to play the right way, learning how to win, learning how to play like champions. And I think that, that's a work in progress. And we're seeing great strides from the group, learning how to win together and win the right way. But I think, like I said, overall, that full 60, I thought we were a good team, and likewise on Friday. So happy with the overall weekend.
Going to take a question here from Twitter from Alan Brett. He says, the first game in Manchester on Friday will, as always, be an eye opener, a learning curve for a lot of the new players. You were in the wings there as we were speaking to Matt Ginn, and we've mentioned about things like the ice and the rink that they have. Is there anything particular you've advised the guys to be mindful of when icing in Altrincham?
Not yet. I mean, to be honest, we normally do an abundance of preparation, and to be honest with you, it always seems to not really matter. I mean, you have to get there and experience it. We'll certainly will prep them on the size of the arena and the fact that things happen very fast, and just to play very direct and get pucks to the net, and also to stay above your man, because things happen very quick, and if you're sleeping and you allow them to get in behind you, it's going to be odd man situations all night, and it's a very dangerous way to play, and it's not the way that we play. So, that's the main focus this week, and will be the main focus going into the game. But the reality is, you need to manage the puck well and manage your game well in that building. At the same time, impose our own game on Manchester. And yeah, you're right. I listened to Ginner there, and they're going to do the same thing. They're going to want to play the way they play. They're going to want to use that building to their advantage, and we need to be aware of that. But ultimately, we need to play our game as well. It's just we need to be aware of our surroundings.
What is it there? Because, as you heard, one of the things I said as well is that I seem to feel that sometimes I come away from that rink more frustrated than I do elated. And we've had times there, and asked him whether he felt that the rink or the ice was an extra man for them. But we've had times there, like last season, we had a commanding lead that slipped away. We've struggled to sort of get good results. What is it about that place that makes it such a difficult place to go?
Well, I think there's a little bit to do with momentum, and I find that it's the same, particularly in Fife in the third periods. Manchester third periods. It doesn't matter what type of lead you have. If you come into it like we did Sunday, just kind of not really playing on our toes. It can happen quickly where it's 1, 2, 3, 4 right away, and now you're in a hockey game. And so you need to be aware of those situations. You certainly need to try to get the puck in the other team's zone and play on offense, because that's how you negate some of the momentum. And sometimes in those small buildings, things happen so fast that if you're not ready and you're not you're not prepared to play at the start of a period or the start of the game, you could find the game gets out of hand pretty quickly.
Coach, last one for me, and I know we're probably a one game at a time team, or probably a one period at a time team, but obviously now we're heading away on the road for a while. Is that something that this happens to us every year? Something that's penciled in your diary. This is character building, team building opportunities as well. It's to be looked forward to. It's not to be frowned away from.
Absolutely. The talk we had this morning at practice is, I love the way that we finished at home, obviously, and the last stretch of games I've loved. I've even liked our games against Guildford. We've come out of them on the other end of the scoreboard, and it reminds me to last year, 2 of the games against Cardiff where we started really well against them and lost those games as well. Obviously this year it's against Guildford, but certainly going into the 6-game road trip here, it's something. It's due to the Friendship 4 coming over and the availability at the rink. It seems like the last 6 or 7 years, or however long it's been, that this road trip here, I find that it can really make or break you, and it can also set you up for a real success. I find that we really become a hockey team, a real team, throughout this road trip. And I think that, if you look back at all the other teams, I'm sure that that's probably the case on how we did on these road trips, where we ended up. So I think that was something we talked about this morning, and just, there's no complaining. There's no excuses. This is a business trip. We got to go get the job done and come home. And, it's that simple. So, I think it's a great opportunity for us to get away from any types of distractions that are at home here. Just focus on your game, get the job done, come home. And there's no other words for it.
It nearly, I can't remember if Paul Leahy's season was the first year we went on one of those, and I know it's not going to happen this year, but I think we came back from that road swing about the start of December, and the league was virtually, it was a fait accompli. Like we'd nearly done so well on the road and through the start of that season that, Jeff Swesnall had it in the bag by the time we got the Christmas decorations down. It was something great.
Yeah. On that, I have no better way to leave it. Coach, listen, we appreciate your time tonight. Good luck this weekend against both Manchester and Nottingham. Good luck in this long road swing, and no doubt we'll speak to you again as the season goes on.
Yep. Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Richard.
I'm sure.
Come back.
Get him back. Get him back.
I cut you off. Sorry, you were saying?
I'm sure we'll see you, Paddy, on Friday. And I don't want to be seeing your angry face after the game, so hopefully it goes our way.
Listen, Neil Russell will tell you there's 2 types of interviews after games in Manchester. It's either the happy one or my funeral voice, which comes in with so let's hope we go for the happy voice.
Gets a break from me, and then you can present it with
I'll see you Friday, Coach.
All right, take care, guys.
Cheers.
Big thanks to Adam Keefe for his time. Really appreciate him coming on, especially we've.
Sorry, no, that's one. That's one where he starts with sorry for your loss.
Basically, Neil Russell always comes back and points out, especially when we do the audio. He said basically, if we've lost, if we've won, it's like a good win for the Belfast Giants, and I'm joined here by the head coach Adam Keefe. But if we've lost, it's like here in Altrincham after a 4-1 defeat for your Belfast Giants, and I'm joined by the head coach of Belfast Giants, Adam Keefe. Keefe. It's just like my voice just drops into funeral voice.
I've got absolutely no doubt that he's still sitting there watching, but I'm too scared of him to do that, so you'll always get the same from me.
You're like, so good. But no, big thanks to you for
whereas I'm really shallow. I don't do interviews after our loss. Sorry, please go.
Davey just goes home. Yeah,
had enough out of here.
So why would anybody want to talk about a loss? Ride the highs.
The people want to hear, Davey. The people.
The people can pay for a ticket, then.
Fair enough.
Respect.
Right. Before we come to the news, just a quick one. We did have the result of the Player of the Month for October, sponsored by Phonacab. It was released. Let me see. Bring it up here. With 51.6% of the vote, beating Sam Rupp, Scott Conway, and David Goodwin. It was Jackson Whistle, number 1 for your Belfast Giants. He received the trophy after the game against the Cardiff Devils on Sunday. There he is for those watching on YouTube, picking up that the coveted A View from the Bridge Player of the Month trophy, the biggest prize in the game. Davey, goes to Jackson Whistle.
Yes, congratulations to Jackson.
Is that it? No comments?
Do you want me to?
A well-deserved award.
Like a well-deserved award with over 50% of the vote. I was quite surprised. I don't want to say anything disparaging because, as I said last week, all four guys were valid nominations, and any one of them could have won it. I was surprised with the amount of the way David Goodwin started the season. I think he had 4 man of matches out of the first 5 league games. Jackson, I think, probably only played maybe 4 of the games through the month in the league, and I think he probably 3-1. Good results, 2 clean sheets, 2 shutouts at home. Obviously, the loss away to Guildford, but valid winner, no problem with that.
GB's number 1, Joel.
Just going to say, Belfast loves its goalies. It always has. And Jonesy got the job done for us on Friday in Glasgow and is doing his job too. But I think there's just something about this season that has sparked people a little bit. I think people are kind of really getting behind him. There could not have been a better game for Wiss to be presented with this than that game. It really lit the crowd up, and Wiss, maybe even some of the saves weren't as spectacular as what the oohs and ahs were making out to be. But and I know that the coach talked about that third period and maybe giving up a couple and putting a bit of traffic on him. But I think Wiss was a showstopper on Sunday, and he really had the crowd in the palm of his hand.
He had a couple of saves in that first period, Joe, and we were 1-0 up and at 1 each. Big saves. Not going to say momentum swingers or game changers or anything, but big saves that needed made at big times. I guess that's where he's been good this season. He's made big saves at big times. I'm not being critical of him in any way. I'm delighted for him. He's moved up another notch in the all-time goaltending statistics when I was doing them last week. Data sort, hit the button and you see if anybody in his wee name jumped up another column or another line on Excel. So congratulations to him. That he's just chipping away. I can't remember who he overtook actually from memory. I'll tell you next week.
Colin Ryder.
Possibly.
I'm just not out there.
You said it so confidently as well.
Massive congratulations to Jackson Whistle, who I think it's the second or third time his name's been on the trophy.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him on picking up the A View from the Bridge Player of the Month award, sponsored by Phonocab. Thanks to them for sponsoring as always.
I think pretty good news. I think Simon once said that they have to buy the bagels for breakfast or something, or buy breakfast for the boys. So they're not all dying to win it, like. But congratulations nonetheless.
Jolie, any news?
Yeah, sit back, Davey, kick back there, enjoy yourself. We'll get through this really quick. This past week in the Viaplay Elite League, Viaplay, depending on your preference, the month of November kicked off last Wednesday with a 7-2 win for the Cardiff Devils over the Five Flyers in Wales. On Friday night, the Devils made it 4 points from their homestand with a 6-2 win over the Nottingham Panthers. On Saturday, the Blaze left Scotland with a 5-1 win over the Dundee Stars, and the red-hot Guildford Flames needed OT to overcome the Flyers in Kirkcaldy, winning 2-1. And on Sunday, the Sheffield Steelers blanked the Flyers 3-0 in Yorkshire for their third consecutive defeat of the week. Tough. The Blaze bounced back at the Sky Dome with a 3-0 win over the Glasgow Clan, and the Flames took care of the Dundee Stars back home at the Spectrum, winning 4-2. And in everyone's favourite tournament, the Challenge Cup, the Manchester Storm beat the Steelers 6-4 in an ill-tempered affair, as we've been talking about, in Altrincham, which saw Chase, C-H-A-Y-S, Chase, really, go after Davy Phillips off the opening face-off, and a bit of a hangover from Phillips checking to the head call a couple of weeks ago. He got himself ejected for that encounter. And thanks to that score, a victory over the Nottingham Panthers in any form on Sunday would have actually seen the Storm through to the knockout stages of the Cup, but it wasn't to be, as the Panthers ran out 5-4 winners. And that means that despite, believe it or not, there's still 2 group games left in November. We now know the last 8 of the Challenge Cup, so your Belfast Giants will be joined by the Fife Flyers, Dundee Stars, Cardiff Devils, Coventry Blaze, Guildford Flames, Sheffield Steelers, and Nottingham Panthers, with the Storm and the Clan missing out. Revolving door was in action today, chaps. There were 3 outgoings in Dundee this week as Jeff Mason rang the changes. Firstly, captain Fabrizio Ricci has parted company with the Stars and moved to the Nottingham Panthers. Mace said, obviously, this was not an easy decision for either party to make, but I feel that it is a good opportunity for both the club and Fab to move in a different direction. I think very highly of him, and I wish him thank him for his commitment to the club. Wish him nothing but success in the future. And then goaltender Francis Marotte and defenseman Devin Daniels were released, with Mace saying, "We recognise as a club that we are not where we would like to be and are working tirelessly to correct that. We are currently in talks with players, and as soon as contracts are finalised, we will get these announcements out to the public. We have every intention on getting back to 14 imports as quickly as possible." We're running over tonight, but any thoughts on Dundee ringing the changes? Our good friend Jeff Mason.
Has Richie been announced for the for Nottingham Panthers?
Believe so, yeah.
All right, okay. I don't think the Richie one going to Nottingham Panthers would be him ringing the changes. I think that that's a strange one to be moved out. I think he's a great player as well. I think that it'd be interesting to see how the Stars will go without him, because I like him as a player. It'd be a good pickup if that's where he's gone, the Nottingham Panthers. But ultimately, the Stars have to change something. They're blanking left, right, and centre, and they have to, as much as we love Jeff Mason and a fantastic servant to our club both on and off the ice. I think that it's going to be difficult. He needs to really change things around before. We've seen in this league teams start to drop off, and the league or just playoff qualification gets away from them, and they don't get back.
You have me absolutely terrified there, but I've just looked at the Nottingham Panthers website and he has been announced. So,
has been announced.
Yeah,
that's all right. Just something that was discussed earlier, Davey.
He is on the Panthers website. If we have no more thoughts on that, on to Dops. Dops has fined Manchester Storm's number 14 Chase Ruddy and 11 Cameron Critchlow following that game against the Steelers. Ruddy's fined for fighting aggressor and instigator after 8 seconds. Critchlow was fined for instigating a secondary altercation at the 35-minute mark, and both of those incidents will be kept on the player's record.
A shake of the head from Davey here, but I am going to come in and say that my opinion of what Ruddy did, I thought it was a bit wrong. You know what I mean? The puck goes out to Davy Phillips in the right-hand corner, and Ruddy's just coming at him 8 seconds into the game. Now, there's talk that at the face-off, it was offered to Davy, and he said no, but it doesn't just end there. Surely there has to be a point where you have to offer, and then no choice him, rather than just go, right, mate, I'm going in for a mugging.
Mm-hmm.
No?
Offered him to face off. You know what's coming, son. I'm lined up against you. Do you want to go? No. All right. Then you're going. you heard his coach say that they were disappointed with the team reaction. Now, perhaps they didn't realize. I thought that was an interesting comment. It's Orville. It's their top player. He's the top scorer in the league, I think, at the time. Yep. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. We looked at the hit again and again, and we tried to mitigate. There was no mitigation for it. It was a bad hit. Take their medicine. He's served his sentence with Dobbs. He's paid his fine. You always get a bit of retribution in hockey. I don't think that'll ever go out of the game. And he's been, Davy Phillips has to have known when he lined up there that this is coming. This is not a state secret that this was going to happen. Sometimes you got to pay a piper, and probably the best thing out of it was that Davy Phillips didn't end up taking a penalty from the Sheffield Steelers point of view. So Turtle take a mugging, whatever you want to call it. They came away with a power play. Ruddy's out of the game after 8 seconds. They're short bench the rest of the game. So really, who won, who lost?
There were a few incidents later in that game. I'm surprised they weren't more looked at. There's a point where Davy Phillips comes in sort of third man in, and he sort of gets away with it. He shoves. It was a really bad-tempered, rough game where a lot of players could have got. In fact, I'm just seeing a comment from Dave McAleese on that very thing. What about later in the game when Davy and Dowdy jumping in third and fourth later in the fight? There were some things on both sides that I thought the Dops would have looked at, but obviously not. Just these two gents. Critchlow's the captain as well, isn't he?
Believe so. And finally, your Viaplay Elite League game of the week is Wednesday night. So tonight, if you're listening to this tomorrow if you're listening to this tonight, as 7:30 at 7:30
if you're listening Thursday.
He's right, 7:30 p.m.
Last week, next week. I messed up.
You're listening to A View from the Bridge. Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. as the Sheffield Steelers host the Coventry Blaze. Join our good friend Aaron Murphy and co for that one. And that's your news, Patrick.
I've logged into that new Viaplay. I'm going to ask Murph. So
can we find out, please? I'm sick. They've
got a new thing on the on Amazon TV, on the Amazon Fire Stick that you can log into. It's actually quite a nice quite a nice platform. So interesting to see what they get from that. A lot of Scandi Noir TV on that as well. If you like things like The Bridge or whatever that sort of stuff is, the dark stuff, Nordic stuff, loads of that on there to watch if you're into that.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. If you like hockey and like Nordic noir, then this is for you.
Yeah, I call those the big two. That's the big two.
You're gonna nail it. Thanks, Joel. Davey, I'm going to. Yeah. Are you looking into something? Oh,
what is that?
It's a viaduct.
It's a viaduct. Then it's Viaplay.
Do you know what?
Lessons.
Fair play.
Lessons.
I'll give him that.
Well, you say that, but in Latin, the word for street is via.
How's it spelled?
VIA. That's my Latin GCSE coming in. I could be wrong, actually.
I think you made that up.
What, do I have a Latin GCSE? I actually do have a Latin GCSE.
Oh, don't doubt you. Ecce and Pictoria Espuela nominate. Also have Latin.
Sumus est sunt. Aram.
You're listening
to View from the Bridge, official podcast of the Belfast Giants. Davey, I'm going to leave the question on the toughest player to next week because we're now around 15 in. But we will get to it. The guy who asked that question, we will get to that. The two games this weekend, of course, we've just spoken about. The Manchester Storm versus the Belfast Giants on Friday night. Planet Ice, Altrincham at 7:30. If you can't get down to that, you can watch it on Storm TV with John O'Board. And then on Saturday at 7 p.m., Nottingham Panthers versus the Belfast Giants at the NIC. And if you're not getting down to that, you can watch that on Panthers TV with
John O'Board.
What you said during the week, somebody else was doing Storm now.
JJ Fernley had been doing it, but Jono's been doing it. Jono did it last weekend. And then and he sent me a message earlier this week, just asked a couple of questions because he's doing it on Friday. And he's also doing Saturday's game. So he's seen a lot of the Belfast Giants. He loves it. The Nottingham Panthers, Davey, any thoughts? No, didn't think so. Interesting to see how it goes there because the consistency of the Nottingham Panthers has been up and down. They've been losing some games and sort of beating Cardiff in Cardiff, but losing to Cardiff at home, and they don't seem to be getting that consistency. And now they're bringing players in like Richie. To sort of find that secondary goal scoring, I guess, or trying to find primary goal scoring. And I know that during the week they it was in the cup game, they blooded their young 18-year-old goalkeeper. It was a nice little touch. I saw an interview with Jono. It was Jono. Sort of after that game, which was nice to see. But the game against Nottingham Panthers on Saturday at 7 p.m. Let's hope we stuff them. Any other business, boys?
Nothing for me tonight.
David?
Nothing. No.
Well, I've got one thing, and that's just I want to shout out to the Irish girls who are playing in the Development Cup out in Kuwait. Yeah. I know we've got a comment here from our good friend Richard Stagg saying, big congratulations to Caitlin Morrison on the player of the match for Team Ireland. And they, I know our good friend in goal, Sarah McFarlane, who we've known for many, many years. The Giants, you often see her down there by the Belfast Giants tunnel. She's in goals for Team Ireland in this Development Cup. They lost the first game 5-4 to Luxembourg, and I think I'm just scrolling up here. There's lots of they lost the game 5 7-3 to Colombia, Luxembourg, Kuwait, UAE, and Ireland. What a lineup for ice hockey! None of which are ice hockey strongholds, but a fantastic experience to go out to Kuwait and play in this tournament. Mm-hmm. Fantastic to see the Caitlin's getting the player of the match award for that, and good luck to them. And you can tell that I'm a much more animated person talking about Team Ireland than I am talking about Team DD. So
we should probably, while we're on there, we should give a bit of a shout to Glover, who's out there coaching the out in Buenos Aires. His boys on wheels. So good luck to them.
I forgot about that, and I sent him a message on Sunday, basically panically saying, "Mate, the View from the Bridge of Player of the Month award needs presented."
And what did he do, Paddy? He sorted it.
He sorted it. He says, "I may be in Buenos Aires, but it's sorted." And I was actually watching from home, and I saw the trophy on the bench, and I was like, "Yes, Glover, go for it." So good luck to those guys. Right, congratulations to Carl Rattle, who did her abseiling, wasn't it, for charity the other day, and she was tweeting us about that. Congratulations to her. Right, we're going to wrap it up, boys. An hour and 20 into this show. Your 2 games to the Belfast Giants, as we say, Friday at 7:30 away to the Manchester Storm. You get that on Storm TV, and on Saturday at 7 p.m. away to the Nottingham Panthers. You can get that on Panthers TV. Big thanks to Matt Ginn, Steve Owre, and of course to Adam Keefe for joining us on this bumper show. Big thanks to everybody who's got involved, sending in messages, sending in your tweets, and joining us live on the show. Big thanks to you, Davey, and to you, Joel.
Thanks, boys.
See you next Tuesday.
And see you next Tuesday. The shake of the head, Joel. If you can get us, of course, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on kingdomofthegiants.com. We didn't receive any emails, Davey.
Come on.
No.
Email Davey. Email
Davey. Podcast at kingdomofthegiants.com if you want to send us in an email.
Everybody that sends an email, I will put in a draw for a Colin Shields testimonial T-shirt.
No, you
everybody.
It was going well till T-shirt.
I have to set up an email filter for all these bloody
email
emails
Davey. Get Davey emailed.
Email what in the subject? Just say Davey's email. Hashtag Davey's email.
No, say cool stuff in the emails.
An interesting fact. Send an interesting fact.
An interesting fact about themselves or the Belfast Giants.
Or about viaducts. I don't care what the interesting fact is. We're not going to read them.
Send an interesting fact about viaducts.
You're listening to A View from the Viaduct.
Can we go home now? Let's go. Send her on home.
Big thanks to everybody. And wherever you are this weekend, we hope you enjoy your hockey. And we'll catch you here next time on A View from the Bridge Viaduct.
Still you rise.